I've got something to tell you about the way you've been breathing. You've been doing it wrong. I know you've been breathing for a while, since you were born, and you probably take it for granted that you know what you're doing in the breathing department. You've made it this far. But hear me out, and let me reacquaint you with the way nature intended for you to breathe. Here's what we're going to cover in this video today: how most people are breathing wrong, and why. A simple way to get more oxygen into your body to experience massive health benefits, and how to reduce anxiety and even stop panic attacks in their tracks with a simple breathing technique. First, let's take a look at how you're breathing right now. Let's get ready to take in a really deep breath and hold it. Are you ready? Set, go. Now hold that breath for a moment and notice something. Did your shoulders go up and your chest expand like mine just did? For the majority of us, when we're told to take in a deep breath in, what we do is we expand our chest and draw the air into the upper part of our lungs. Unfortunately, what this shows us is that you've unconsciously become a chest breather. What this means is that you're doing most of your breathing efforts with your chest and even your neck muscles. It's not the most efficient way to get oxygen into your body because it only partially expands the lungs. Over time, chest breathing can contribute to neck and to shoulder pain. Now, I know this from experience because I used to have chronic shoulder pain for years. The bottom line is you weren't born as a chest breather. However, for most people, it has become an unconscious pattern to breathe using short, shallow breaths that only go into the upper portion of the lungs. Years of poor posture, bad habits, and stressful thinking eventually lead to less than desirable breathing patterns. The chest breathing pattern of taking in short sips of air into the upper lungs, that's adequate for living, but it's inefficient for thriving. Stress is a big contributor. Shallow breathing is a physiological response to stressful thinking. Bad posture also plays a part. Do you sit for long hours in front of a computer? Well, I know I do sometimes. And there's lack of exercise. As you probably know, rigorous exercise naturally facilitates deep breathing and stress release. And if you're not getting enough exercise, eventually you might pay the price with poor breathing habits. Then there's pollution. If you live in a smoggy city or work in an industrial area, taking in a deep breath in can sometimes be a scary proposition. And don't get me started about smoking. That's the worst. Smokers will reach for a cigarette when they're stressed, and then they actually condition themselves to inhale with short puffs. It's actually the opposite of a deep, relaxing breath. Finally, we breathe shallowly and poorly for looks. We're culturally programmed to expand our chest and suck in the gut because it makes you look sexy. Well, that might look good in the mirror, but chest breathing only partially engages the lungs, and it's not very efficient at all. We take in about 20,000 breaths every day. Most likely, you've been chest breathing all day, every day, for a very long time. You've only been getting a portion of the oxygen that you could be using to energize your body and lower your stress levels. Oxygen is the most important source of life. It's the most important source of life you have. You could actually survive without food for several weeks. You could go without water for several days. But if you cut off your oxygen, you'd be dead within minutes. Imagine the change in your health and your energy if you could automatically take in more oxygen on an ongoing basis just by breathing more efficiently. And I'll tell you this, there is a direct correlation between a person's health and the oxygen levels in their body. Cells that get insufficient oxygen, they become weak, even die. There's also a theory that low oxygen levels may even contribute to cancer-causing cell mutations. So what is the answer? It's the type of breathing that every mammal in nature uses when they are in a state of relaxation. It's called diaphragmatic breathing. It's also known as abdominal breathing or belly breathing. What many people don't know is that the primary muscle for breathing respiration is actually located under your lungs and above your stomach. It's called the diaphragm. It's a large dome-shaped muscle located horizontally between the chest cavity and the stomach. Contracting the diaphragm causes it to flatten out like this, and this creates a vacuum that pulls air down into the lungs and it pushes the belly out. When you breathe with your diaphragm, your belly expands instead of your chest. So try this out now. Put one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly. So now, inflate your stomach as you breathe in while keeping your chest and shoulders relaxed, sort of like this. So imagine expanding your stomach like a beach ball, and that will push out the hand that's over your belly. Avoid expanding your chest outward or your shoulders upward. So you want the hand over your chest to remain still and the hand over the stomach to expand outward. Inhale deeply by pushing your stomach out. Inhale slowly and feel your stomach pulling in. Your shoulders and your chest should stay relaxed. You might notice it takes some effort to do belly breathing the first time you try this because it's much different than what you've been doing unconsciously. Your neck and chest muscles have been doing most of the work up until now, leaving your diaphragm down here weak and inefficient. The first time you try this, you might even get a little lightheaded, and that's fine. Belly breathing is the healthiest and most natural way to breathe. This is how you were born breathing. Now, if you watch a sleeping baby, you'll see that's how they breathe. The belly expands, but not the chest. The act of pushing your belly forward as you breathe engages the diaphragm. This allows you to take deeper breaths that engage far more of your lungs' capacity. And that means more oxygen gets into your lungs and, of course, eventually into your bloodstream. Now, just as important, deep and slow belly breathing triggers the body's natural relaxation response. In other words, it interrupts the fight or flight response associated with stress, anxiety, even panic attacks. Knowing how to breathe this way is an absolute must to massively reduce your day-to-day stress levels. Deep belly breathing done correctly is a master key to profound relaxation. It's not a coincidence that every traditional relaxation practice places a high priority on deep breathing exercises, whether it's meditation, yoga, or even hypnosis. So, how can we make belly breathing natural again? While you may have an unconscious habit and a pattern of being a chest breather now, you can consciously choose to take control of your breathing pattern at any time. Through conscious practice and conditioning, you can actually train your nervous system with belly breathing until it becomes natural for you once again. Taking in some structured deep belly breaths several times throughout your day will re-engage your diaphragm muscle while conditioning your subconscious mind to return to this natural state of breathing. Here's a structured deep belly breathing exercise that'll increase your energy while dramatically cutting the head off of your anxiety and your stress levels. Here's how you do it. You're going to inhale through your nose slowly for a count of 4. Then you're going to hold that breath for a count of 4. And then finally, exhale through your mouth for a count of 8. Now, for this deep breathing practice exercise, we're intentionally going to take twice as long to exhale as inhale. The reason is that it helps to stimulate parts of your nervous system that produce the relaxation response. This breathing exercise will teach you to breathe slower than what you're used to, breathe more deeply than what you're used to, and to use your diaphragm by belly breathing to regulate the inhales and the exhales. So let's do it now with the 4-4-8 count. A 4 count inhale, a 4-count hold, and then an 8-count exhale. So ready? Breathe in. Hold it. Breathe out. That's it. So doing that simple power breathing exercise several times a day will have amazing benefits for you. And here's why. Deep belly breathing causes profound physiological changes. It very quickly decreases your heart rate and your blood pressure. And because it also engages the lower portion of your lungs instead of just the upper, more oxygen is getting into your bloodstream, releasing natural endorphins and serotonin. In other words, taking in these deep belly breaths creates a relaxation response that interrupts the fight or flight response of high anxiety. You will most definitely notice a change in your stress levels simply by doing this breathing exercise. As of right now, belly breathing is probably not your unconscious style of breathing. However, simply continuing to practice belly breathing will eventually lead to this becoming an unconscious habit. That's the goal. But meanwhile, just the daily practice of deep belly breathing will have immediate benefits for your health because you're getting more oxygen into your body and your concentration and focus will actually improve while your stress levels will go way down. And that's a fact. So here's your action plan of what you can do right now. Every hour of the daytime, basically your wakeful hours, simply practice 3 deep belly breaths using the 4-4-8 count. Breathe in through your nose for a count of 4, hold it for a count of 4, and then breathe out through your mouth for a count of 8. Do this 3 times in a row each time. And this doesn't have to take a lot of time, just a few moments to center yourself and take 3 deep belly breaths. Now, if you have a smartphone, which you probably do, there are some apps available that can cause your phone to ring a short reminder alarm every hour, like the hourly beep from an old digital watch. I use an iPhone, so I've been using an app called Chime. I do believe this particular app is available for other smartphones as well. So I've got the Chime app set to beep once every hour between the hours of 9 a.m. and 10 p.m. So that's my reminder throughout the day at the top of every hour to practice 3 deep belly breaths using that 4-4-8 count. So here's the rookie mistake here, and that would be not taking action right now to set up this reminder system to practice this every hour. You've got to get this habit reinforced as quickly as possible or else you're going to forget to do it. So before you forget, stop the video right now, get an app for your smartphone, or if you have a digital watch lying around, set that to beep every hour in order to remind you to take 3 deep belly breaths every hour of the day. It's simple, it's fast, and it's very empowering. So let's talk now about how to stop anxiety attacks with a simple breathing trick. Here's the physiology of what occurs when a person experiences strong anxiety, or even worse, a panic attack. Very often there's difficulty breathing, or a feeling like you can't catch your breath, like now that's a common symptom for a panic attack. This happens not only because you're breathing in short, shallow breaths into your chest, but you're going too fast and you're trying to take in new air before you've let the old air out. Now this leads to the feeling that you're not getting enough air, which of course leads to even more panic. You might even be hyperventilating, which is literally over breathing with shallow breaths that leave you, of course, feeling like you're just not getting enough air. Well, here's the thing. The physiology of anxiety, the physiology of a panic attack requires shallow panic breathing. You can actually break this pattern of panic breathing with slow, deep breaths into your belly. In other words, deep diaphragmatic breathing, belly breathing, creates a pattern interruption for feelings of anxiety. It's not congruent, and an anxiety attack cannot physiologically continue if you consciously take control of your breathing. But there's a few tricks to keep in mind in order to make sure that this works for you. The first trick is to exhale first before you try to catch your breath. You've got to stop that pattern of hyperventilating or trying to pull in new air before you've exhaled the old air. So the first thing you need to do is stop everything and then exhale with a sharp burst of air, almost as if you were blowing out a candle. Try this. This activates the diaphragm. You can literally feel it engage as your abs tighten up when you exhale. Now this creates a temporary but intentional interruption to the shallow panic breathing. So you stop everything and you exhale first to clear your lungs, and then just pause for just a moment and then start doing the deep belly breathing exercise with the 4-4-8 count. Breathe in through your nose for a count of 4, hold the breath for a count of 4, and then breathe out slowly through your mouth for a count of 8. And also, while you're at it, check your posture. Good posture is the posture of confidence and being in control. So sit up straight or stand up straight as you take in slow, deep breaths that fill up your belly, but not your chest. Breathe more deeply than you're used to, breathe slower than you're used to, and use your belly to regulate the inhales and the exhales. And continue to focus on your breathing for as long as it takes for the panic attack to stop. This might take a few minutes, but the body will respond regardless of what's going on in your mind. And here's another important consideration. If you ever do have panic or anxiety attacks, you must practice deep, confident belly breathing in advance of your next panic attack, so you'll know exactly what to do to break the pattern when the time comes. Because if you wait until you're in a state of anxiety to apply what you've learned here, that's too late, and you'll be overwhelmed, and most likely you won't remember what you're supposed to do. So you need to practice this in advance while you have your wits about you, and right now there's a feeling of being in control. So to recap, there's really 2 potential rookie mistakes that could happen here for people that suffer for anxiety or panic attacks. First would be not practicing the deep belly breathing exercise in advance. Practice it often so you'll know exactly what to do before the next anxiety attack happens. And second, if you're actually having a panic attack and you feel like you're trying to catch your breath, you've got to remember to stop everything and exhale first to empty out your lungs and pause for a moment. So pause, break that pattern of quick, shallow panic breathing, trying to bring in new air before the old air has been released, and then start with the deep belly breathing exercise. And here's one final point about using this strategy. Deep belly breathing is very effective, and it will stop the physiological symptoms of a panic attack. But it doesn't resolve the underlying thought process going on in your subconscious mind that created that surge of anxiety in the first place. Because there's some sort of unconscious stimulus response pattern that triggered the anxiety. Well, the good news is that there are most certainly some very effective and wonderful techniques for breaking up those triggers and creating permanent, lasting changes to break those patterns of anxiety. And we're going to learn and apply those cutting-edge techniques in the Fear Cure course. But to wrap things up here today for this video, just remember, pretty much every person on the planet can benefit from the practice of deep belly breathing, and practicing deep belly breaths throughout the day will train your nervous system to make belly breathing natural for you once again. Conscious practice eventually leads to subconscious adaptation. Thank you for watching the video. Please hit like on the bottom if you found this to be very helpful, which I hope you did. Leave some comments and let me know how well what you learned today is working for you. Thanks for watching.